Can I make a video game having never made one before?
I've played games my whole life, but I've never actually wanted to make one. In fact, in the past, I've even actively chosen not to be a game developer. This changed recently when something happened.
You see, my brain doth runneth over with ideas. Ideas like, what if I made some Blender models to spruce up my live streams? Or what if I recreated Treasure Planet, but as a live-action movie trailer? Which is something I'm still working on. And now the idea stuck in my head is a video game. A strategy video game where you have to manage the growth of a plant. As the player, you would start as a small seed, and you'd have to grow and survive in these random places you were planted in. This could be in a pot, or a shoe, or a crack in the sidewalk, or even more extreme places. You'd have to manage resources like water, sunlight, oxygen, all while mounting a defense against bugs and weeds and the weather.
With most of my ideas, it looks awesome and works perfect in my head. But after some time passes, the idea fades or I lose motivation, and in a stupor of thought, I realize, it's just not worth pursuing. But not this one.
The more I thought about it, the more this idea blossomed. For weeks now, I've just been thinking about the systems and the mechanics and the artwork, and that's when it happened. I realized that I should probably just make the game myself. Easy, right? Okay, so far I've done 3 things to get started. I started writing a very simple game design document. I bought a $5 sketchbook to take notes and just to draw some of my ideas. And I've chosen a game engine to use as a program to help me develop the game. The game design document is pretty simple. It kind of just asks basic questions. These are all questions that I found online. Basically, just something to help me focus my efforts moving forward. What is planted? This is what I'm calling it right now, but I have a feeling I'm going to change the name of the game when it is further in development. Design pillars, problem solving, creation, advancements, and completion, audience and market that I'll be targeting, core gameplay, and then I outline some of the systems like roots and branches, balance, pacing, setting, the world, kind of like art style that I'm going for. This game design document I'll put in the description of the video. For the sketchbook, I just started drawing random stuff like seeds, drew a picture of what the map might look like. I outlined different dirt types, tried sketching out some roots and what those might look like, and then I got more specific about how the root structure would grow. I even learned about like the golden rule, because apparently some plants follow that. Just really basic sketches, lots and lots of notes. I mean, we're just getting started, but some of it's looking pretty cool. When it comes to choosing a game engine, I obviously have no idea what I'm doing. I spent way too little time deciding on what engine I'm going to use. Some of the names that I saw floating around were Unity, Godot, Unreal Engine's kind of a one that's popping off right now. I eventually ended up going with Unity after watching several videos. I think all of these engines are very capable, but many of the games that I was inspired from, like Hollow Knight, Tales of Iron, Oxygen not included, all these games were built using Unity, so I thought Unity would be a good choice. If Unity is able to make these other games that are really cool and that I really like how they play and the aesthetic of them, then Unity will have all the tools that I need to make the game that I want to make. So moving forward, this is what I plan to do. I learned that Unity is coded in C#. Coding the game is what makes me the most nervous. I think I can fumble my way through the art a little bit and some of the 3D modeling, I guess, because I have experience in that, but coding is totally brand new to me. So Unity uses C#, and I did a quick Google search on just free online C# classes. Codecademy, the website, which I've never used before, offers one. It looks like they're estimating it take 23 hours, which is a little daunting, but it says it's beginner friendly. So my plan is to take this, and this will be the test. It's been a couple days since I started taking the course. This is like my 4th or 5th lesson. Finished the lesson and it prompted me to do like, why don't you try writing your own little program? And so I decided to try making a program that calculates compounding interest. Oh, I know. Super interesting stuff. The important thing is I was able to do it. And I throw in a little foreshadowing. The hardest part in my head is coding, and it might be a little too soon to say, but this might be doable. So, I just finished the course
the C# course that I was taking. The whole reason I was taking it was sort of as a proof of concept, to see that if I could actually learn to code a video game. So yeah, I had to test it out and see if it's something that I could actually do. And unfortunately, I think I can do this.
By the way, the course totally lies to you. It says it will take like, what is it, 23 hours? But really, it took me like 40 to 45 hours. I probably could have gotten it done in the 20-hour mark, but whenever I got to some part in the lesson that I didn't understand, and there was a lot of words that I didn't understand, they would tell you to perform some task in order to progress through the course. And I didn't even understand what they were asking me to do. So I had to go to other places like the internet or ChatGPT or some other source of information to try to understand what was going on. I just didn't want to progress until I understood it. And because of that, it took a lot longer. Alright, so I've been all excited to start this Unity project. And so I went and I downloaded the Unity Hub. And as I was creating a new project, I realized that there's like hundreds of versions going back many years, and I had no idea what version to install. Do I just install the latest version? Did it even matter? I went on a YouTube rabbit hole, and apparently not too long ago Unity was wanting to change their pricing structure. It caused quite a bit of drama. The community did not like that. And then like a week later, Unity said, oh, sorry, we're gonna reevaluate this. And then ended up just canceling the runtime fee altogether. Long story short, the first $200,000 the game makes, you don't owe Unity anything. And then after that, there's like a scaling percentage fee. If I'm making millions of dollars and I have to pay a couple percent to Unity for using their engine, I think I can live with that. And then I go to create a new project. I see there's like a million different types of projects you can make. So in my head, there's this vision of what the game will be. It's like this mix between these 2D elements and like 3D parallaxing, kind of like Hollow Knight or Tales of Iron. I eventually come across a Reddit post where someone specifically asked the developer of Tales of Iron if they used a 2D or a 3D Unity project for that, and the developer said the 3D option. It's technically 3D with a perspective camera, and we just use 2D assets in the scenes. And so there we go. So I come back over, I'm going to create a 3D project, and then I realize there's two types of 3D projects which use two different pipelines, whatever that means. I'm starting to see a trend here where as I make progress, I come into this unknown territory where there's so many options and so many things to do, where I feel overwhelmed and I have to go look for resources and more information to learn and make sure I'm on the right track. It's making me realize how hard this can be.
For days I've been in this YouTube rabbit hole, just been laying in bed, sort of obsessed about every single mechanic, reading articles, watching videos, researching different render pipelines, different ways of coding and developing the game and what the game requirements might be. I'm watching videos about navigation systems and parent tree systems and all these different ways of having resources move throughout the game and how the game communicates with itself, and researching and making sure that every mechanic is accounted for and taken care of, because what if something is too hard to make and I'm not going to be able to fulfill the vision that I have for what the game should be? What if connecting the artwork with the code is too difficult? What if I spend a whole year making a root system or a branch system and it ends up not having the features or the functionality that I need? I'd have to scrap everything and redo it. And this rabbit hole is so deep, and I'm trying to plan everything out. I don't want to waste my time, is sort of the end feeling that I'm getting, and I haven't even started the Unity project yet.
I know this is just the first video, but I wanted to end showing a little bit of progress on the game. I thought it'd be cool if I did like some crazy cool time lapse of like me building out the game. It took way longer than expected. I just sat on the same screen for like hours and hours and hours. So let me give you an update now that I've actually made some progress. I thought the best way to start would be to set up a camera in the game, or the perspective of the player, right? Most games, they have a character that the camera follows around and you play as that character. but seeing that this is a strategy game, the player is actually the camera itself, managing the map below it. I created this using the newish Unity input system. I don't know anything about it, but from what I learned is that it makes it way easier to map controls. So instead of mapping certain keys to perform certain actions, I can just map move camera to perform certain actions, and then when those keys change, like the user rebinds them or whatever, it doesn't matter because all the code is based off of move camera, not the key itself. And then I had to learn about the Cinemachine camera, how to add in a camera, how to get it to follow a certain object. I tried making it so the camera could just move on its own based off of the user inputs. Yeah, that didn't work out. I had to have the camera follow an object, and then the object moves based off of user inputs. And so it's kind of hard to see, but there's a tiny little red dot here that the camera is following. Just for reference, I took a photo of my sketchbook of one of the pages, and I put that in here just so when I moved the camera, I could actually tell it was moving. And then I put some blocks around and gave it collision to act as a boundary for that red dot, so the red dot can't leave outside that box. So this is the code, the camera movement code, and it looks really impressive, but man, this took a lot of troubleshooting. Even using ChatGPT or watching YouTube videos or like online forums, it wasn't helping. Everyone had a different style, a different way of doing it, and while I guess inspiration was taken from all the videos and stuff, I actually had to write it myself so that I understood it. So it took a lot longer, a lot of undoing and redoing, and anyway, all this code stuff, kind of boring, but it works. It works, and that's the most important thing. Check this out. At the bottom of the screen, you can actually see my mouse clicks and my user inputs so that you can see how it actually works. But when I hold the WSD keys, it actually moves that red dot, and therefore the camera that's locked onto the red dot. When you scroll on the mouse wheel, it goes in and out. The mouse gets between a certain percentage of the screen, the edge percentage. It also scrolls the camera so that there's edge scrolling if people like using their mouse. There's a reset button, so if I hit the home key, is it the home key? If I click the middle mouse button, it resets, which I thought would be important because I am planning on having Fog of War, and I think people might get lost off into the Fog of War. So having a reset button that you can push that brings you back to like a certain location, I think would be smart. Yeah, I haven't mapped the home key, but because I've already set up the code, it should be really easy to map the home key. Is it showing? Yeah. I also did it with the arrow keys. It's just nice. I want it to have like as much user functionality as possible. I don't want people to have to learn the controls, right? So if a kid likes using the arrow keys, great. If you like using the WSD keys, great. I think we're at like, what, 80 hours into the project? A lot of time has gone into this just to get to this point right here. So yeah, if you think this is exciting, just wait. It's gonna get even better in the coming videos.